Apple, my favorite company that screws over its customers. Recently, they hosted a new Apple event, as they do every once in a while per year. But this one was special, because this one is where the new iPhone was going to be announced, along with accessories commonly used with iPhone. And as someone who owned 2 out of 3 of these products, I was pretty excited, wondering what this so-called Apple Watch Pro could be, if we'll get orange iPhone for once, if the new AirPods don't look like this abomination. So I got my Tesco apple juice, as any British person would. I sat down, watched the event, and it was alright. But instead of saying it's alright, today I'll begin my thoughts on the Apple event, talking about the new hardware and software released. So let's begin. The first out of 3 things up is the Apple Watch, and for me it was the least interesting thing for me, to be honest. And the reason why is because I just don't use Apple Watches or smartwatches in general. As even when they came out back in 2015, I always just thought, why not just use a clock or a phone or just even a regular watch? And what about that iPod Nano that people used as a watch? But obviously, people who do have an Apple Watch don't just use it as a watch. People who own Apple Watches use it for fitness, flexing, and maybe even fitness. And for said people, Apple released the new Apple Watch Series 8. First of all, the design. It's the same, and thank God. Last and this year, there was a lot of memes showing how the next Apple Watch could have a notch in it, and honestly, if it did, I wouldn't be surprised. But thankfully, they didn't put the notch on the Apple Watch, they put it on the Mac instead. And although there's no new design, Apple did add 2 new sensors, which in Apple's words, helps to reduce the bias from the outside environment. I hate the way these fuckers speak. Along with that, Apple also added low power mode to the Apple Watches. I thought they would have already had that. And finally, crash detection, where if you're in a car crash, it would ask if you're in a car crash, and asking if you want to call emergency services. This feature is actually really great. I just want to see reviewers test it though. The watch comes in Starlight, Midnight, Silver, and Product Red in an aluminum case, and Silver, Graphite, and Gold in a stainless steel case. Released on September 16th, and it starts at $400. But if you can't afford that, might I show you the new Apple Watch SE? This product is similar to the new iPhone SE that came out earlier this year. It's completely the same with just some minimal upgrades, and that's all it needs to be. It comes in the same aluminum cases that the main Apple Watch has, and starts at $429. But if you have a lot of money, might I recommend not the Apple Watch Ultra? The reason why I don't recommend it is because it's not really made for the average consumer. This product is made for people who do hiking, exploring, and or diving. And for those people, it's amazing. It features a dual frequency GPS, gives better information for things like pacing, route data, and your distance while running. They completely redesigned the Compass app in watchOS 9. In the app, there's waypoints where you can add a location to your liking. A new depth app that displays time, water temperature, etc. A siren, an action button that you can do whatever you want with it. And better battery life, lasting up to 36 hours on normal use, and 60 hours if you use low power mode. All for $800. And will be releasing on September 23rd. As I said before, this is an amazing watch, but not much people are gonna buy it because it's not made for them. But for the people who they are made for, maybe they'll buy it, I don't fucking know. But with the Apple Watch done, let's move on to, it's the same thing, isn't it? AirPods. Man, I remember when AirPods came out back in 2016. I used to think, wow, Apple removed the headphone jack. That's stupid. What are they gonna do next? Remove the home button? I didn't buy a new iPhone for 4 years because of this. And along with that, I also didn't get any AirPods. But it's 2022. I have AirPods. They fucking suck. Sometimes they don't sync. If I move my head 0.1 centimeters, the music entirely stops. And it's really bassy and really good. So when they showed the 2nd generation AirPods Pros, my reaction was, can we get a new iPhone already? The new AirPods Pros have the same design as the 1st generation ones, and thank God. If the new ones look like this, I would have lost more faith in Apple than I do Sonic Team. The new AirPods feature a H2 audio chip, along with adding active transparency. Controls are allowed to swipe up and down to adjust volume levels. I thought this was only on AirPods. Better battery life in the case, a smaller tip, all for $249. Overall, it's a good upgrade. If you have AirPod 1st or 2nd gens, I recommend upgrading to it if you really want to. If you have the 3rd gens or the Pros, in my opinion, skip it. Anyway, let's move on to the highlight of the event, the one we're all waiting for, the one that isn't gonna be the same this year. Last up is the iPhone. I have a great history with iPhone reveals. The first one I remember is when the iPhone 5C released. I already made a video about the phone's reception back then and even now. And to summarize my thoughts, I really like the design as it was the first iPhone that came in colors. I remember using the iPhone 5C and 5S for the first time at the Apple store, playing Angry Birds Star Wars on it. In 2014, when the iPhone 6 released, I honestly did not like the design. I thought it was a step down from the iPhone 5. And I mean, I wasn't wrong. The iPhone 7 was just disappointing. It was just sad. And in 2017, when the iPhone 8 and iPhone 10 released, I was livid. After the iPhone 10s and the shittier 10 released, I didn't really care about Apple products anymore. Heck, I didn't even know the iPhone 11 was a thing until 2020, when the iPhone 12 released. Apple's new design with the iPhone 12 really piqued my interest, and it's what got me into the rabbit hole that I will never escape. Anyway, onto the iPhone 14. The design is the same as last year, and honestly, if you're upset about that, it's Apple, what are you expecting? It's common knowledge at this point that Apple doesn't really redesign their products for a long time. Instead of making massive upgrades every single year, they make small updates to their phones every single year. So by the time your iPhone's battery is so degraded from iOS updates that it doesn't even charge anymore, just buy a new one or trade it in for $5 off. And so because of this, the iPhone 14 did not get that big of an upgrade. The phone now has a chip from the iPhone 13 Pro, a brighter display, camera improvements such as photonic engine, cinematic mode at 4K at 30 or 24 FPS, and action mode, which actually looks really cool. All for $799, but if you want to pay a little bit extra, might I recommend the iPhone 14 Plus. Yeah, this phone is this is interesting. So Apple cancelled the iPhone mini and brought back the iPhone Plus. As somebody who owns a 12 mini, this is disappointing. The iPhone 12 and 13 mini were such great phones. I really liked the compact design of the phones, and they felt like the true successor to the iPhone 5. The only issue with my iPhone 12 mini was the battery life, and even now, the battery health on this is not looking too good. I heard the iPhone 13 mini has a way better battery life, but if I ever do upgrade my phone, I'd want the one with the new fancy feature, which I'll get to in a second. The 14 Plus has a 6.7-inch display, just like the Pro Max, and comes out at $899. Overall, a pretty decent upgrade from the iPhone 13. Would you upgrade from the 13 to the 14? Now, there are some more features with the iPhone 14, but I'm going to be talking about those features on the iPhone 14 Pro. Let's talk about the colors first. There's no orange iPhone. They didn't make... That was the one thing I was hoping for the event, and they didn't make the orange. They did purple. And people said they wanted green again. Why would you want green when they did it twice? What do you mean? The purple is nice though. Apple did some big changes with the iPhone 14 Pro this year. Not only did they not make it soldier green, but they added a whole new feature. The all new dynamic island. Okay, first of all, Apple, dumbass name. You could have just called it the pill, but yeah, sure, dynamic island. Think different. Jokes aside though, this is actually an amazing feature they added to the iPhone. Basically, this dynamic island changes shape depending on what is stored in it. It could be a timer, it could be a podcast, you could do FaceTime, it could do Face ID, you can record a voice memo. It is genuinely great, genuinely amazing, and I genuinely want this phone right now. Also, I want to see how fast Android copies it. The phone also features an always-on display, thinner bezels, a really bright display, a 48 megapixel camera, and along with the Apple Watch and iPhone 14, features crash detection, and only on the iPhone 13 and 14 Pro, emergency SOS via satellite, which is also really cool. Overall, the iPhone 14 Pro is honestly amazing. The only con I have of it is that Dynamic Island looks kinda bad out in sunlight, and for some reason they changed the interior design for the iPhone 14 but not the 14 Pro. But these are things the average consumer probably wouldn't care about. At the end, the iPhone 14 starts at $1,000. Remember when making a phone that price was fucking insane? And it's already out, so you can buy one right now. Though you can't buy the iPhone 14 Plus as it comes out in October for whatever reason. Anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and honestly, I wonder what Samsung's new thoughts on the iPhone are. Let's see the marketing campaign. Seriously, Samsung?